In this video, we're going to see how we can import Autocad files in a DWG format and DXF, and also how we can then switch from Autocad or external references like an image or an Autocad file into the Revit families, which are the main elements here, which are gonna compose our project in Revit. So I'm going to start here. This is the image that we inserted in the previous video, and I want to first of all unpin this. So I will click on the little pin icon there in order to move it aside. And also we created earlier some vector graphics based on the reference image and also using the 2D drawing tools that we find in Revit. And in this video we're gonna import directly a drawing, so we don't need those anymore. And let's get started. Let's start to import something right here. So I already have a folder where I have inside different DXF files and DWG files. And you can also get these from the web. You can search for them in websites and just search for CAD blocks. You will find a lot of assets ready to be downloaded and inserted. And also you can write the comments if you want to suggest some website, and also if you want to ask questions, of course, or need assistance, please write it in the comments. Now I'm gonna try here first with this Sketchup Export A, which is actually AutoCAD file which I have exported from Sketchup. So if you're working with other software that are able to export in DWG or DXF, that's gonna be good, either for the 2D drawings or the 3D models, but I'm gonna show you that later. Now I'm just gonna show you here that you can just click and drag, just as we did with the image in the previous video. You can click and drag and you can drop there by clicking the AutoCAD file. And you can see that it's looking really nice. It's suppose that this is not in scale, we could easily scale it by going into the scale tool in the modify tab. And this time we probably can scale numerically, not graphically like we did in the previous video, because usually when we use an AutoCAD file, it's gonna have some sort of scale. Now I made this too big, so I'm gonna go back, Control Z. That was like 10 times bigger. So if you find that a particular drawing is too small, you can always scale it using the numerical values. Why? Because usually people, well, not usually, but sometimes people in AutoCAD, they work already in scale. So for them, 1 unit here could be like 1 meter, but could be also 1 centimeter, because they don't know actually how to set up units in AutoCAD. Now, usually AutoCAD, if you don't set up the units, those are millimeters. But let's say that people assume that those are meters. Then when you import here, you will find something really, really, really small. You won't even see it. So if something is too small, you won't even see it. That's gonna be an issue, and I'm gonna show you how to solve that later. Now let's go first with the basic things, and then I'm gonna explore some more advanced things like in other videos. So the first of all here, I want to select this, and if I go and for example use a Revit tool like an annotation, for example the linear dimension, you can see that it snaps to the AutoCAD file. So when we use AutoCAD files instead of images, that's the first big difference. So in the raster image, we have pixels, we cannot snap to those, we cannot work with those. We need to retrace everything in vector graphics like we started to do in the previous video, and then that's gonna be good. And also another thing to notice is that when we create in 2D shapes here in Revit, those are going to be essentially the same of the AutoCAD drawings that you import. So again, I can go here now and use this to make a dimension, or I can use this also to draw walls. I'm going to show you that later. So you can perfectly use the AutoCAD file that you import for many, many reasons inside Revit. So it's always going to be more useful than importing a simple image. It's just another step that you need to do. You need to retrace everything in vector graphics. Okay, now another thing we can do here with this file is that we can explode it. So if you want to edit this in Revit, we need to explode it. Otherwise, this is like a group. So it's something where everything is grouped together and we cannot go in the single elements. So if I explode here, now I can decide if I want to explode partially or full explode. Now let's do a full explode first. Now if I go inside, now I can see that every single line here it's by itself. So everything can be now editable. So if I select that line, I can click and drag, and this is gonna move it. And you can see how the temporary dimension is gonna always help you. Also, not only to dimension, not only, sorry, to change the size of an element like that. So we insert 200 with the keyboard, and that's gonna become 200. But also to be precise, you can see this is now aligned to this other line right here. So you can see I can change and set this perfectly to 90 centimeters. So I can work with distances as well with temporary dimensions. Now, if we go inside here and we explore a little bit the exploded version, we can see that texts are directly editable. So if I select a text tag, I can double click and get inside there and can change the numbers. So I can say this is 1 instead of 6. Now, of course, this is not what this text was intended for, so probably this was a correct measure. So I can leave those tags. I can also get rid of those and use the annotations in Revit. Depends on what I need to do. Now, if I want, I can also recreate. This was probably an arrow in Autocad or in Sketchup. It was like an annotation. So if I select that and I want to create the line, I can click on this. So this is the modify for the text nodes. You can see it's slightly different from the standard modify panel. It has this extra tab called leader alignment text. So each time you select something, the modify tab is going to be context sensitive. So it's going to figure out what you are doing, on what family you are working, and you're going to change here according to the extra options that it's going to give you. So right now I can click on this grip, move it, click on this other grip, and I can do something similar to the one that was there before. But we're gonna get to annotations in another video. We're gonna stick to importing in this video, just to show you that some things you can reuse, some you can re-edit, some others gonna be like completely not useful in the importation phase. Now you can see that this AutoCAD file is pretty simple, doesn't have doors, doesn't have windows, because essentially when you work in Revit, you don't need all of that. You're gonna create them from the architectural families right here. So you don't need those drawn on the AutoCAD file. So when you also need to do a retrace of a raster image, either in Revit or in AutoCAD, don't worry about all the doors and text and the signs and so on. You don't need all of that. You just need the really basic stuff, which are the walls and where the openings are positioned, and the overall, let's say, structure of your model, of your project. You can also create only the perimeter like this, and then create the walls here with the thickness in Revit. And again, we're gonna see that later. I will first start with importing assets different from families, and then we will see the families in the last part of the video. So first of all, we can import like that by just clicking, dragging, and dropping inside Revit. We can also go to the Insert tab here, or Insert ribbon, and here we will find all the different options when you want to import stuff from outside Revit. So you can either link a file, or you can import, or you can load a family, which is from Revit again. So you have many different options. So you can also search for families on the web. You can download families and you can import them by loading them from the Insert tab, or you can also load them from here, from the component. but again, we're gonna see those later. Let's get back to insert. So right now we have imported manually. We just drag and drop a file, but we can also go here and say import image or import CAD from here. When you import CAD, this is gonna ask you where to find the file. So in my case, I have a particular folder that I will get, which is again my DXF DWG folder. And I can import DWG, I can import DXF. DXF usually are more compatible if you need to import or export. Now remember that if you are exporting from another software like SketchUp or Cinema 4D or whatever AutoCAD application or Rhino or other 3D software you're using, always remember that when you need to import in Revit, at the moment you only can import certain types of files like CAD or IFC, and that's it. So you don't have many options here. You can see also, well, you can also import directly Sketchup files. And if you're interested, you can check a video course or video guides in the channel where you will find SketchUp features and tools and lessons. So I will use here a, let's say, Cinema 4D to SketchUp. Let's see. I don't really know if this is a 3D file or if it's a 2D. So always another good practice is to know what you are importing so that you can set up here some options. So when you drag and drop, that's gonna figure out automatically. When you do this importing directly, you can change some of these options here. For example, you can say if you want this in the current view only or in all the views. Now be careful, because if you don't check this on, if this is unchecked, that drawing is gonna be visible in each single view that you have. So it's gonna be annoying, I think. So I usually check this on, current view only. And here you can preserve the colors of the layers that are in the AutoCAD file, or you can invert them, or you can set them to standard black and white. And then here you can decide if you want all AutoCAD layers or levels, if you want only those visible when you saved the last time the file, or if you want to specify the layers that you want to import. Now, if you are not an AutoCAD user, you probably don't know what layers or levels are, and don't worry about that. This is, let's say that this part is for people who use AutoCAD and want to import their job, their work here in Revit. So don't worry about that. We're gonna see something better later for you. And also import units. When you work in AutoCAD, you probably know that you are standard in millimeter, and then you can also set up units there, just as we did here in Revit. So be sure of what units you are importing. So in this case, I'm just gonna do auto detect. That's gonna work out most of the times, but we need to check that. And also let's keep these correct lines that are slightly off axis. You can see here that I'm placing this to ground floor. Well, this is in Italian right now, but it's easy to understand. This is zero floor, so it's ground floor. Well, I'm gonna make the translation. There you go. You can also find other layers here to place it, but in this case we don't have it. And then we can decide how to position it. So if we want to use the center to center, that's gonna take the center of the drawing and the center of Revit project. If we do origin, it's gonna figure out the origin. You can do that also manually with the origin and the center. Now let's go to auto center, and let's click to open. Let's wait. And it's gonna ask us for the layers, because we said that we want to specify the layers that we want to import. Now, since this is kind of an export, I think this is a 3D export from Cinema 4D, which is another 3D software, you will find a lot of layers here. Now, usually you don't have so many layers when you work in AutoCAD. You only have like 10 or 20 or maximum 30. Now here you can see that it has really a lot of layers. Now what I can do here is check none if I don't want to import any layer, and then I can decide what I want to import. Like that, just gonna click here randomly, or you can do also check all to import everything. So this is how you can decide and manage the layers before you actually get into here into Revit. Now, I don't think that all of this stuff is going to be imported, because I think these are like particular 3D models that you can do in Cinema 4D, and that will not be recognized. But maybe splines, because splines are 2D drawings. They could work. Okay, so let's say that I have selected some of these layers and say, okay, now import everything. Okay, I already see where my file is, but you probably missed it because it's really small. Now, how can we solve this issue? So sometimes when you import from external application, from external sources, you would probably not see the file anywhere. And then you say, oh, okay, I need to re-import it again. And then you go on and you re-import it many times. But before you do that, be careful, because the object that you imported, whether it's a 2D or 3D, it's could be already there. You just don't see it. So you have an extra tool that can help you. Now, first of all, what I usually do is zoom extends from here, or zoom to fit. So I can say, okay, everything now that I have in my project, it's framed into this window. So the first thing, I make sure that my drawing hasn't gone far anywhere. So it's right there somewhere. And then I click and drag with the left mouse from left to right and select everything. Now, the other thing I can do is go to filter. We already see this tool before. So we click there and we can see everything that we have selected, which supposedly it's everything we have in our scene, because we did the zoom extends or zoom to frame all that's in our scene. And you can see there, that's my file right there. So it's called Cinema 4D to Sketchup DXF. Now I can deselect everything, so I can do check none. So it's like working with layers basically. And then I will select only this one here and say OK. And now it's easier to spot it. If I select the move tool, there you go, it's gonna be highlighted with this dashed bluish line. So I can zoom and see, okay, there's my project right there. It looks pretty strange and awkward, but it's right there. And now I can like move it aside, maybe here, like that, just as I move anything else, and I can find it again. Again, this is a group, so I need to explode it if I want. You can see that it's telling me really few informations, because this is a group and we cannot edit this just like we did with like an Autocad file, but it's there. So this is good news. And you could find yourself in the same issue also when you work here with other simple Autocad files. So if you don't know the units and Revit misses to scale it in the appropriate way, you could not find it. It will be really difficult to find it. So that's one tip right there. Another tip is to go in the properties for the view, and remember that to go in the view properties, you have to deselect everything. You just need to click on a blank space in your project, and this is gonna show you here the properties for the floor plan, which is my piano terra right now, but it's just a plan view. So if you go here in the properties, go to visibility graphics overrides. Now this is a really important panel, and we can compare this to the layers panel in Autocad. So it's where you can actually manage the aspect and the graphics, or how something looks like in your project. So if you click on edit, you can also see that we have, these are first the Revit families. So we have model categories, and this is everything that actually exists in reality, meaning that these are like ramps or roofs or rooms. So it's actually something real in reality. These are instead the annotation families or categories. So these are all the different categories that you can find using annotation families. So you can get a pretty close idea of how families work here in Revit. And you can also uncheck those, just like layers. You can turn them on and off like in Photoshop or in AutoCAD. So if you don't want to see the roofs, you can turn off roofs from here. And if you don't want to see dimensions, you can turn them off from here. And then we have a third category or a third panel, which are imported categories. So here you will see anything that you have imported in the Revit project. And you can find here, you can see that, oh yes, this is the one that I have imported, and I can manage again all the layers from here, so I can turn them on and off. So yes, this is essentially the same thing of working in layers in AutoCAD. And you can also change the lines, so you can override lines, you can do some operations here, but well, let's stick to the simple things right now. We're gonna get back to this later probably, but make sure you note these visibility graphic overrides because it's really important to work in Revit. So we figured out, yes, my CAD, it has been imported. Now I just need to know where it is. So this is another way where you can see if you actually imported something or you didn't import anything. And right now you don't see the first file that we have imported because we exploded it. So once it's exploded, it doesn't figure out as a imported category, but it will be recognized as a Revit lines, standard Revit lines, 2D lines. Okay, let's exit this. This is the one that I have imported. You can also try to use the thin lines. Now, thin lines are gonna show you things a little bit thinner, so you can change that. So you can see those will not be seen like a width. And yes, we have something here, not too much, and something also pretty difficult to understand. But again, this is from Cinema 4D, and I believe these are 3D objects, so don't worry about it. This is just to show you the process when something goes wrong and it's too small. You need to figure out where it is, and then right here you can probably scale it numerically like 10 times to see it a little bit better. And probably we need to switch in 3D. So to quickly switch in 3D, we can go here in the quick access toolbar and click on the little house there, or we can go to view and click on the 3D view right here. So this is gonna show us if something is in 3D or not. Now be careful, another issue could be that you are in the wrong view basically, or that you are using the crop tool here. So if you use the crop view or crop view region visible, something could not be visible just because it's outside the cropping part. So this is also another thing you want to check if it's right. Now you can also copy and paste objects from views from a view to another view, or from a Revit file to another Revit file. So if I Control C with my keyboard, or I click here, which is copy to clipboard, then I can paste it here, this anywhere, either in the same project. So Control V, and you can see it's suggesting you that that was the original position. So I can place it in the original position right there, and yeah, there you go. So it's kind of strangely positioned right now, but you can see this is 3D stuff. So just to show you here that you copy and paste it, you can copy and paste it directly in the 3D view. Now let me delete that, and let's switch to the top view using the view cube, and let's do that again. So I will select that, and again copy, go to the other view, and you can also use the paste tool with a lot of options. So you can say also aligned to the selected views, or aligned to same place. This is gonna place it, align it to the same place as the other view, and so you can see those objects right there. Now I want to make another example using Sketchup. Now you will find a video course in Sketchup in the channel, and this is a really fun and easy to use tool. Now you can see here I've created a kind of a random shape. So actually if I go back, yeah, this was a little bit smaller. And you can create objects, 3D objects, using any software like Rhino. You can also create something pretty realistic. Now this is just a standard shape just to show you. And when you're finished, you go to File, Export, and you need to make sure that you have the export option for DWG or DXF. So you can see I've already saved this in DWG, and I've called this a random name, but let's call this import from 3D software. Okay, and save it. So this is now exporting in AutoCAD, DWG, or you can do also DXF. This is just an example with SketchUp, but you can use your preferred 3D software. Just make sure that it's able to export in DWG or DXF. Now, instead of importing, we're gonna linking the CAD file like this, and I will go into my REVIT folder. This is where I have saved it, and search for DWG. There you go. This is import from 3D software right here. Again, we have the same options. Gonna leave everything as it is and say open. And this only contains one level, so it's 0. Let's say OK, and there it is. So this is how we can easily import the 3D objects or 3D models from other software. You can see we cannot explode it. We can only delete layers and do some other arrangements here. Now I will go to the 3D view, and so we can see it in 3D. So I can use it now. You can see also the little character here of SketchUp. Now if we change the shape in SketchUp right there, so I'm going to change this a little bit. Maybe I will extend this or make it smaller, just cue it, something like that. Something that is gonna be really visible. And I'm gonna save this. Well, actually not saving, but re-exporting into the same file, or well, another, the one that we used. Okay. Now what we need to do here is just reload it. So to do that, we go to the Manage tab, Manage Links, and here we can see all the different external assets that we have imported, like Revit, IFC, CAD, so CAD, DWF, topography, PDFs, images. So we can see the image that we used in the previous video, and here we can see the import from 3D software, which is the one that we did right now. So I just click on reload, and that's gonna reload the new file. There you go. So you can easily upload, reload, update the new version of that particular 3D model or 2D file, depends on what you're working on. And there you go. So we saw how we can insert from CAD, we saw how we can link or import, we saw images. Now let's talk about a little bit about inserting Revit families. Well, that's actually gonna be our main topic for all the following videos, because we're always gonna work with families. But let's get started so that we can get familiarized a little bit with these different components. Now the easiest thing you could probably do in Revit is create a wall. So let's click on wall, and we will just go there and start to draw. Now you can see that creating walls is just like creating 2D shapes or 2D drawings, except that we're going to create a wall. So you can use a line, you can use different shapes. For example, if I use a circle, now I can create a circle, but that's not going to be a simple circle. It's going to be actually a model, a 3D model, something that's right there in your project. Could be a circular room. And if we use lines, we can, for example, try to trace on the original CAD to create a wall. Now you can see that you can continue, you can use the snaps to be more precise, and you can trace that wall. So use the snaps so that you will be precise. Be careful there. If you miss something, you can just exit and restart. So you can just delete that, select it, delete it, and then go back to architecture and start from there. Now Revit is gonna do everything for you. It's gonna try to fix all the junctions, get rid of the extra lines, so everything will be nice and clean. In really a short amount of time, you can create really complex architectures or an entire apartment or an entire project or building. So Control Z. Right now I'm going back because I want to show you another feature which is really interesting when you use CAD files. So again, if we use wall, we have many different ways we can work, but we can also pick directly the lines. So to be even more precise, I can just go there and click on the lines. And this is gonna generate walls like that in a really short amount of time. There you go. To be even faster, let's go back, Control Z. I'm gonna give you the last tip of this video, which is also using pick lines. You roll over here with your mouse on a line, and then you will stay there without clicking and press Tab. Now Tab is gonna find out if there is a chain of wall, and then click, and this is gonna create an entire chain of wall in one single click. This is amazing because now we only need to close that right there, which is an awkward angle. You can see there is this strange angle right there, but you saw there within 1 second you have almost the job done. So it's almost finished to create the walls. So this is why Revit is so powerful, so fast, and it's an evolution of the CAD techniques that we previously know. And when you go in 3D, you already have all the nice 3D walls, even though you only work in 2D. So 3D, it's automatic here. We can also turn on some shadows to see better the 3D part and distinguish it from the 2D part. But you can really understand here the power of Revit. And again, this is just the beginning. So this will be all for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to support us a little bit more, you can join the channel as a supporter, and this is gonna help us to create more videos and guides like this and to work with other software in the future. And also you can leave your comments, you can ask for assistance, you can give your suggestions in the comments. And again, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.